Revealed, the sinister rules of a haunted pet shop selling 13 terrifying, impossible creatures. Sarah's palms turned clammy as her heart raced, an uneasy feeling settling deep in her chest. She had heard whispers of a pet shop with unfathomable creatures, each more nightmarish than the last. Shadows seemed to dance around her as she cautiously made her way to Wonder Creatures, the tiniest flicker of hope for a mother desperate to bring light back into her daughter Lily's life. But tingling fears chased her, bouncing off the dark walls of her uneasy mind. Once a peaceful suburb, now a prison forged from rising crime and perpetual darkness, even the streetlights sometimes flickered like they were trying to warn her. Breathe, Sarah thought, just breathe. But with every step, there was an intoxicating mix of dread and curiosity building inside her, merging into something she didn't want to feel. As she reached the shop's tall, grimy windows, a chill swept through her, flicking invisible fingers down her spine. As she pushed the worn door open and the little bell jingled ominously overhead, a sensation of being watched swept over her. Inside, the atmosphere thickened, faint echoes of whispers drifted through the air. Against the backdrop of gaudy colors and mind-bending shapes, shelves crammed with odd creatures seemed to pulse with chaotic energy, shadows stretching from the corners of the room to darken Sarah's heart. The plush feel of carpet beneath her feet offered no comfort. She could feel eyes upon her, some lifeless, some wide with unspeakable secrets. And then there was Mr. Delaney. With a charismatic smile that felt like a mask, he sidled up to her, his eyes glinting with something darkly mischievous. "Ah, a curious soul. Our monsters have unwritten rules, care must be taken." His voice slithered around her like smoke, igniting a primal fear that sent her instincts screaming. She pressed closer to Lily, the little girl entranced by the monstrous menagerie around them. "Unwritten rules?" Sarah echoed, her voice like a rasp. "What do you mean?" A coy grin spread across Mr. Delaney's face. "Each creature bears a curse. A burden. One must be faithful or else." He twisted his hands, hinting at a fate worse than death. An oddly shaped creature on the shelf, its scales shimmering with sickly sweet hues, seemed to whisper directly to Lily, and Sarah felt her stomach turn. There it was, the promise of happiness wrapped in darkness, sending revelations spiraling into her mind. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Their routine was crumbling, shadows climbing their walls at night, wrapping around Sarah's heart with cold fingers. Disturbing echoes of laughter broken by sudden, horrific howls turned their once cozy evenings into sleepless nightmares. And yet, the longer they lingered, the tighter the bond grew between Lily and the creature, its whispers softening into dark lullabies. But as Sarah stared into the swirling colors, she knew no matter the innocent hum of delight in Lily's quickening heartbeat, something terrible was waking. The villagers had fallen silent, desperation clung to their fearful glances. She felt isolated, adrift in a sea of looming dread. Just then, a bone-chilling howl ripped through the shop, shaking its very foundation. The world tilted around Sarah as terror latched onto her heart. In that moment, she wondered what kinds of horrors these impossible creatures truly held. Would she dare uncover the secrets entwined within this strange place, or would they be the end of her and Lily? The howl echoed again, cutting through the thick air like glass breaking underfoot. Sarah's heart raced as a primal instinct surged within her. She grabbed Lily's hand, squeezing it tightly, pulling her closer. The vibrant creatures around her suddenly seemed to pulse with darkness, their grotesque forms twisting and writhing as if aware of her fear. Mr. Delaney moved between the shadows, completely unfazed, his smile never wavering, a grotesque mask that became more unsettling with each passing second. "Fear is only a barrier," he mused, tilting his head. But it's the only thing that keeps you safe. What do you mean? She whispered, dread wrapping around her limbs like a broken promise. The creatures, they know your fears. They can twist them. But if you choose wisely, his eyes glinted with a cruel light, they may also fulfill your deepest desires. Suddenly, the creature with the sickly shimmering scales let out a soft, inviting croon. It was enticing, soothing, and Sarah felt her defenses begin to crumble. Lily's eyes sparkled as she was drawn deeper into the creature's enchanting gaze. Sarah's stomach nodded, a voice in her head screamed, "Focus." "Lily, sweetheart, we need to go," she urged, her voice trembling. As she turned to leave, the lights overhead dimmed, flickering dangerously before plunging the shop into darkness. Panic surged in Sarah's chest. She could barely make out the shapes around her. The creatures seemed to slither and crawl toward her, darkened whispers hissing. Stay, let me show you," Mr. Delaney said, his voice like velvet poison, drifting through the shadows. A mere glance at the wonders you could have, and with that, a flash of light erupted from the back of the shop, revealing a shadowy door. It was cracked open, a haze pouring from inside, beckoning her closer with promises of what could be. The tension of dread and the sickly sweet hope swirled violently inside her. Against her will, Sarah found herself stepping forward. Her rationality was fading, just a peek, nothing more. "You'll be safe, it's just a trick of the light." But as she crept closer to the door, the world around her twisted again. The walls pulsated with each heartbeat that thundered in her ears. Suddenly, a shrieking laugh echoed from the depths of the shop, a sound so horrific it echoed in her bones. She stumbled back, pulling Lily with her, tearing her gaze from the beckoning glow. "We need to get out. Now. How can you leave the possibilities behind?" Mr. Delaney taunted, his figure blocking the entrance to the door. "Exploration, joy, life itself, just waiting for you." He stepped aside, revealing the ominous glow radiating from inside. Sarah felt her heart quicken as a wave of power washed over her, mingling with fear. She needed to escape, but the brightness drew her in like a moth to a flame. The shadows were alive, whispering secrets, and she could feel them creeping ever closer. With her instincts kicking back in, she took a deep breath and pulled Lily toward the exit. Just as they reached the door, another howl ripped through the air, deeper this time, a monstrous sound that seemed to shake the very foundation of the shop. It rattled her bones and sent chills racing through her. "Mommy, I want to stay," Lily cried, her small voice breaking through the terror. The urgency clawed at Sarah's heart. No, she would not risk it for anything. "We can't, Lily. We have to get out." But was it true? Could she really leave? As she pushed the door open, the shadows lunged for them, wrapping around her ankles. Sarah felt a cold dread slithering up her spine. With every ounce of strength she had left, she kicked away the darkness and tore into the night, Lily's hand tightly held in hers. But glancing back, she couldn't shake the feeling that something dreadful had been set in motion, a promise made to the darkness from which they fled. The chilling laugh of Mr. Delaney rang in her ears, and the urgency of their escape faded into the night, replaced with an eerie sense of foreboding lurking just behind them. What will happen next? She breathed, eyes wide, clutching Lily to her chest. Somewhere in the distance, the shadows whispered in response the lullabies of the impossible creatures calling her back. The night air hit them like a cold wave as Sarah and Lily burst out of the shop, gasping for breath. The thick fog clung to their skin, swallowing them whole as they stumbled forward, hearts racing like thunder in their chests. Shadows danced along the street, turning familiar streetlights into distorted, monstrous figures looming above them. "Mommy, why did you pull me away?" Lily's voice trembled as she looked up with wide, innocent eyes, bewildered and pleading. Because Sarah swallowed hard, trying to shake away the remnants of the shop's alluring darkness. There's no telling what's inside. It's not safe. Yet doubt clung to her thoughts, whispering, but what if? In the recesses of her mind. The howl erupted again, closer this time, a feral echo that jolted through her. Panic surged as she scanned the dark city street, her senses heightened. What had they escaped from truly? It felt as if something primal trailed them, hunting them in the shadows. They sprinted toward home, the moon hanging high above like a watchful eye. But every step was heavy with the weight of dread. Sarah could feel the dark, twisted tendrils gripping her heart. It felt like they were still inside that eerie shop, caught in Mr. Delaney's game. Suddenly, Lily stopped, her tiny fingers gripping Sarah's arm. "Mommy! Look!" Sarah turned to see a dark figure slinking from behind one of the streetlights, a silhouette that wrapped itself in the night like an oily fog. Her pulse quickened. "Lily, stay close," she hissed, pulling her daughter to her. The figure shifted, revealing shards of something shimmering, a creature? No, a collection of glistening eyes, each one watching intently. "Don't be scared," the voice from the shadows echoed. It was deceptively sweet, a mix of a child's laughter and something far more ominous. "They'll protect you, they will. Just come back. Come back to us." Sarah's mind raced back to the shop, to the promises that lingered like poison in the air. What kind of protection did those creatures offer? "No, we have to keep moving," she urged, fingers tightening painfully around Lily's. But the moment stretched thin as the sound of laughter pierced the air, sultry and beckoning, wrapping around them like a spider's web. The streets grew colder, and the shadows around them deepened, churning with life. "Sarah," Lily whispered, her eyes huge with fear and curiosity. "What if they're nice?" The question hung in the air, suffocating her. Could she risk it? Every fiber in her screamed to keep moving, yet Lily's innocence tugged at her heart. What if those creatures weren't just monsters? What if they were misunderstood? A flicker of doubt crept in. She had no answers. Only fear. Just then, a sharp sound sliced through the growing tension. A door from a nearby house swung open, revealing an elderly woman with trembling hands gripping a wrought iron railing. "Get away from here!" she shrieked, eyes wide with terror. "They're coming. They'll find you. You can't let them in." Sarah felt a cold wave of dread wash over her. The hex of fear tightened again, pulling at her throat. "Who?" she choked out, desperate for an explanation. "Them." The woman pointed a shaky finger into the night. "You can never let them in." But the shadows seemed to grow thicker, swirling in the alleyways as if set ablaze with anticipation. They pulsed and writhed, a hunger emanating from beyond the edges of the light. They were coming. And the whispers grew louder, saturating the air. "Come back to us," heart pounding, Sarah pulled Lily closer, swallowing her own fear. "Run, Lily. Don't look back." They tore down the street, the night closing in, the shadows behind promising unspeakable horrors. Yet somewhere in the depths of her mind, a question loomed: what will be left of her if they didn't? As they turned a corner, a sinister light flickered into view, illuminating another street, another door, this one cracked open, a familiar glow spilling forth. The whispers beckoned, thrumming with urgent promises. And all at once, she realized, they might be safe for now, but the darkness never truly let go what lay ahead in the glow of that door. As they stood, trembling, the chilling laughter echoed again, not far behind. They dashed down the street, the glow from the half-open door growing brighter, drawing Sarah closer despite the terror gnawing at her insides. The laughter echoed behind them, a haunting tune that twisted her stomach into knots. Each footfall felt as if they were running straight into darkness, where the light flickered like a dying flame. "Don't look back, Lily," she urged, though her own instincts screamed to turn, to see what was chasing them, to understand the nature of the threat. The air around her felt thick, a fog of dread that clamored for attention. The door loomed ahead. It creaked slightly, a beckoning whisper promising safety or a snare. It didn't make sense to hesitate. Yet, as they reached the threshold, Sarah slowed, her heart pounding so loud she feared it would shatter the fragile nighttime silence. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, her voice evaporating into the surrounding fog. "I know, sweetie," Sarah breathed, forcing a glance back. The shadows pulsed and twisted, a mass of darkness creeping closer. Shapes formed within, some almost human, others monstrous, drawn to them like moths to a flame. "Come back," they sang in unison, voices wrapping around her like chains of dread. "Come home." Barely composed, Sarah turned back to the door. Gritting her teeth, she pushed it open. The abrupt light flooded over them, revealing a room brimming with strange, unfathomable murals plastered over every wall. Creatures with twisted forms and vibrant eyes stared from every corner, beasts that felt alive, radiating ancient powers. The smell hit her next, earthy and sweet, like decay cloaked in perfume. It was enticing but sinister, a reminder of the shop they'd just fled. "Stay close, Lily," Sarah whispered, each word heavy with uncertainty. Inside, the air shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and the door behind them closed slowly, locking into place with a soft click. In the silence that followed, a voice reverberated from the shadows of the room, smooth as silk yet laced with malice. "Welcome back," it purred. A figure stepped into sight, Mr. Delaney, the shopkeeper, adorned in a thick cloak that draped around him like a predatory shadow. His eyes glinted with a mix of mischief and something deeper, something darker. "I see you've brought a friend." Panic surged again, raw and visceral. "What do you want?" Sarah demanded, defiance flickering deep within her. "Why, it's simple." He smiled, teeth glinting. "I want to show you the wonders of my collection. Creatures that can secure your safety, for a price." Lily, entranced, took a half-step forward. "Are they nice, Mommy?" The question hung over them like a blade, sharp and glistening. With each word Mr. Delaney spoke, the air thickened, buzzing with a terror that threatened to suffocate. "Every gift comes with its curses," he said, tilting his head. "You must choose wisely. They will protect you, yes. But they can also consume." Lily turned to her mother, her gaze wide with something approaching awe. "Can we trust him?" "Trust?" Mr. Delaney chuckled, the sound chilling. "That's a fragile thing, my dear. Birds of a feather, but can they be kept?" Sarah's breath hitched, the veil of confusion lifting just enough to reveal the darkness seething beneath it. The dazzling colors around them faded as the shadows deepened, the whispers returning with relentless fervor. "Come back, come back, come back." Sarah felt herself teetering on the edge of a precipice. Was this truly safety they offered? Or merely another perilous trap? Suddenly, a deep growl echoed from the thrumming shadows, snapping her focus back. Something shifted behind the mural, something large and hungry. She turned to Lily, fear clawing at her throat. "We have to go now." But as they turned to flee, the door slammed shut like a tomb, sealing them within the room. "Let us see what you choose," Delaney's voice dripped with delight. Panic soared through Sarah, they were entangled in a web woven by a dark, seductive force. What lay beyond the shimmering surface of Delaney's collection? In that final moment of indecision, the growl deepened, chilling the air with a promise of horror. What creature was watching, waiting? And why did it feel like they were already too late? The walls seemed to close in, suffocating the air around Sarah and Lily. The silence was a living entity, wrapping around them, squeezing tighter with every heartbeat. The growl rippled through the room again, a reminder that they were not alone. "Mommy, what's that?" Lily's voice wavered, a fragile reed in a tempestuous storm. "Stay behind me," Sarah commanded, fear betraying her shaky tone. She scanned the room, desperate for anything that might offer an escape or a semblance of safety. Mr. Delaney's grin widened, savoring their terror. "Don't be afraid, my dear. They only want to play." He stepped aside, gesturing with a flourish towards the murals, and the very air in the room seemed to shimmer with malice. With a shudder, Sarah approached one of the murals, drawn against her will. It depicted a creature with oozing eyes and teeth that were far too many, vicious and jagged. "What are they?" she hissed, trying to sound brave despite the dread curling in her stomach. "Every creature has a name, a purpose and a hunger," Delaney mused, his gaze penetrating. "The more you know, the more fascinating they become, don't you think?" He moved closer, and Sarah fought the urge to recoil. "What if I don't want to know?" she shot back, trying to push back the weight of his dark presence. "You don't have a choice," he replied, voice dripping with a satisfaction that sent shivers down her spine. "In here, curiosity comes at a cost, and negligence is deadly." Something shifted in the corner of her eye movement behind the mural. A slender, elongated hand reached out, too thin, too bony, like a skeleton trying to claw its way into the light. The growl seemed to grow louder, a beast shoving against its confines, seeking release. "Mommy!" Lily shrieked, eyes wide as she stepped back, stumbled over a crooked floor tile. "No!" Sarah shouted, reaching for her, but her feet felt anchored to the ground, as if the very shadows tugged on her ankles. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced like phantoms around them. In the brief flashes of light, Sarah caught glimpses of more creatures lurking in the darkness, horrific figures with sharp claws, glinting eyes, and mouths that twisted into grotesque shapes. Each glimmer showed her the monstrous forms ready to break free, starved for flesh. "Choose wisely, dear Sarah," Delaney crooned, his voice slithering into her ears. "You could trade one horror for another, one snare for a different kind of safety." "Lily, don't listen to him." Sarah pulled her daughter closer, every instinct screaming at her to run, to tear through the walls themselves if she had to. "What will it be?" Delaney taunted, eyes gleaming. "A creature to guard you, or one to consume all you treasure? Will you protect your sweet child, or make a sacrifice?" The shadows twisted and writhed, as if the creatures were shedding their confines, stretching, preparing to leap. "I refuse!" Sarah shouted, feeling the surge of maternal instinct blaze through her, igniting her courage. She grabbed her daughter's hand tightly. "We're leaving." But as she turned toward the door, a deafening crash sounded behind her. The massive beast revealed itself from the shadows, skin gleaming like obsidian, mange-ridden, pulsating. It lunged forward, snapping jaws barely missing her shoulder, teeth inches from her skin. "Don't turn your back on them." Delaney's voice echoed, blending with the shrieks of the creature as it pulled back, hungry and ravenous. In a heartbeat, Sarah darted past the door, only to find it immovable. Desperation surged anew. "We have to get out." But the panic spread like wildfire, the shadows grasping hungrily, the beast clawing for freedom before her. "Mommy, help!" Lily cried, voice a shriek in the overwhelming chaos. How could they escape this web of terror? Suddenly, a glimmer in Delaney's eyes shifted, revealing something much more sinister. Maybe he was toying with them, but what game was he playing, and did he already possess the ultimate power? The room throbbed with a heartbeat of its own. Each pulse radiated outwards, vibrating against Sarah's chest. They were trapped, a meal for the horrors lurking, a dark puppet show orchestrated for a sick entertainment. Would they fall into the abyss, or was there a chance left to snatch hope from the jaws of despair? The question echoed starkly as Lily's small fingers tightened around her mother's hand. Fear whirled like a storm as their fate hung in the balance, and the next move was theirs to make. What would be born of their choice? The walls pulsated, a heartbeat in sync with the terror radiating from Sarah. She stood frozen, the nightmare unfolding around her, tangled in the web of shadows and teeth. Delaney's laughter echoed unnervingly, swirling with the growls of the beast lurking. The door was an unyielding slab of dread, and every instinct screamed at her to flee, yet escape was out of reach. "Think, Sarah. Focus." She whispered fiercely to herself, but panic surged, blurring her thoughts. Her mind raced through possibilities, each one darker than the last. The shadows lashed out, teasing the edges of her vision. Sarah felt the beast clawing at its prison, the walls vibrating as it strained against unseen chains. "Mommy!" Lily's voice cut through the fog, quivering with fear. Sarah turned to her daughter, her heart a tumultuous mix of terror and fierce love. "Stay close," she replied, forcing reassurance past her dry throat. Suddenly, she remembered the murals. Each painted beast held a promise, a warning wrapped in haunting beauty. She stepped back, knowing Delaney wanted her to succumb to the fear. "What if," she murmured, "what if I didn't choose at all?" Delaney stepped forward. "Ah, the brave mother. But you must understand, ignoring the rules of this place comes with its own price." His eyes glinted dangerously, reflecting the chaos which swelled around them. "Rules?" Sarah spat, anger igniting her resolve. "What rules? You think I'll let you dictate what we do?" She felt it, the creeping darkness from the murals. Was it a choice or a curse? Shadows writhed, and the growl crescendoed. She turned again, fighting the primal urge to flee. "Lily, keep your eyes on me." The girl's fingers gripped tighter, a lifeline in the turmoil, while Sarah pressed against the door, fueling her urgency. She needed something, a weapon, something to throw at the darkness, or maybe a chance to distract it. With a deep breath, she turned back to the murals, horror hanging just under the surface. As if reading her mind, Delaney's grin split wider. "You can't fight them, dear Sarah. They thrive on your chaos. They're part of this game." "Then let us change the rules," she whispered, heart pounding. "What if I could unleash one of them?" Lily looked up, confusion clouding her innocent eyes. "Mommy, don't, they're monsters." "No, no, listen." Sarah's voice was a frantic rush. "If I can bring one of those creatures to life, maybe it can turn against the others." She turned to Delaney. "You said every creature has a purpose. Help me summon one." Delaney chuckled, the sound chilling in its mockery. "Ah, but summoning one comes at a steep cost. Your heart, your soul, those are merely tokens for a fleeting moment." His words slithered through her thoughts, blending with the growls and the shadows' insidious whispers. What if she could acquire that power? Could she outsmart Delaney? "Do it, Mommy," Lily urged, resolute and unwavering in her small, fierce way. In that moment, everything fell silent. Shadows paused, like the world was holding its breath. Her heart raced, her mind screamed, and Sarah locked eyes with Delaney, determination blazing. "I'll pay. I'll do it." "Oh, but be careful what you wish for," he cautioned, but she barely registered. With a voice tinged with the authority of a mother whose love knew no bounds, Sarah commanded, "Bring forth a creature. I ask for aid." The murals shimmered, colors bubbling like a cauldron. A deep rumble echoed, the very fabric of the room shifting. What would emerge? Would it be salvation, or another horror? The air thickened, vibrating with anticipation as the shadows intensified. Lily clutched tighter, her breath hitched with uncertainty. And then, from the deepest recess of the mural, something started to form. What creature would answer her desperate plea? As the shadows deepened, Sarah felt a chill in the air, its essence wrapping around her, an omen of what was to come. The whispers grew louder, and with each heartbeat, the room threatened to unravel. The ground shook, the creature broke free, and the last shadows faded as it emerged, a dark silhouette against the looming nightmare. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Was this the answer they desperately needed, or would this choice seal their fate forever? The horror was only beginning. The shadows twisted and coiled like smoke, bending around the newly formed shape at the heart of the mural. Sarah's breath hung heavily in her throat, an unyielding knot of fear and hope. The silhouette began to solidify, revealing jagged edges and unnatural curves. It towered, looming over her like a specter of despair. "Mommy, what did you do?" Lily's voice trembled, her tiny body vibrating with uncontained dread. The creature unfurled, limbs stretching outward, and as its form materialized, an unbearable stench filled the air, something rotten, decrepit. Eyes blinked open, hollow and dark, absorbing the weak light around them. It had a twisted grin and fangs like knives, draped in a cloak of darkness that flickered and twitched, alive in its own right. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Delaney's voice was a twisted lullaby, dripping with malice. "You've drawn forth a scourge. A creature of primal hunger. It feeds on fear and despair." "What do you mean by that?" Panic clawed at Sarah, the gravity of her choice crashing down like a tidal wave. "You didn't ask for a protector, dear Sarah. You asked for aid. You'll soon find it is you and your lovely daughter who will be the feast." The scourge emitted a growl that resonated deep within the walls, a terrible sound that harmonized with the pounding of Sarah's heart. It turned its focus to them, and she could feel its predatory gaze, thick with hunger. "Lily, back up." Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline force her into action. She grabbed her daughter's hand and spun toward the door, but it remained sealed, mocking her reality. Built on fear, it became clearer: escape was a mirage, shimmering just out of reach. The creature flexed its claws, scraping against the ground, leaving deep grooves as if testing the earth beneath. A chorus of whispers roared around them, pulling at her sanity, feeding on her panic. Shadows darted around Sarah's vision, stretching and licking her legs, a chilling reminder of the horrors that surrounded them. "What do you want?" she pleaded, her voice cracking under the weight of impending doom. She felt like a moth trapped in a flame, desperately searching for a way to break free. The scourge paused, inhaling, its nostrils flaring. It sensed her desperation. The shadows behind it surged, growing taller, becoming more expansive, engulfing the space around them, transforming it into a labyrinth of dread. "Delaney!" Sarah screamed, rage igniting her resolve. "Get this thing away from us. I didn't summon it to slaughter us." "Summoning was merely the beginning," he replied, amusement dancing in his tone, as if he were an artist gesturing to a masterpiece. "You've opened a door. Now you must learn to navigate the consequences of your choices." The scourge came to serve its appetites. Heart racing, she turned to the murals, desperate for guidance. The painted beasts had told stories, each image was a warning and a lesson. What had she missed in their grotesque beauty? "Mommy, it's coming!" Lily shouted, eyesight wide with terror. The impending charge of the creature snapped Sarah back to the present. Time warped, seconds stretched into eternity. She had to think. What if there was a way to harness its power? What if the creature could serve them instead? Fight for dominance? She muttered, piecing together an idea. "If the scourge is driven by fear, then we must show its strength." Delaney's laughter hissed like a serpent at her side. "Do you really believe you can tame it? You're but a flicker in an abyss. You must confront your own terror to bend it to your will." Just as the thought took root, Sarah felt her heart drum wildly against her ribcage. There, in the thickening darkness, lay her deepest fear: the loss of Lily. Before she could instill her resolve, the scourge lunged. Would fear consume them both, or could love bridge the chasm? Seconds passed like hours, dread tightening around her throat, and the beast barreled forward at breakneck speed. That's when the room the entire world shuddered. The ground quaked, and a terrible shriek all but eclipsed everything else. And then, chaos erupted. What awaited them was undiscovered, pulsing in the storm of shadows and raw power unleashed. Would Sarah's desperate plea to control the darkness save her and Lily, or lead to their utter destruction? The ground shook violently beneath Sarah's feet, rattling the walls of the room. The shriek reverberated in her bones, a sound born from another realm, neither human nor animal. The scourge hesitated for a heartbeat, its glowing eyes darting back and forth, unsure of the source of the disturbance. "Mommy!" Lily cried, squeezing Sarah's hand tighter, her small fingers trembling. "Stay close to me!" Sarah shouted, her own voice a fragile thread in this tempest of terror. The shadows writhed like living things, curling around their ankles, desperate to anchor them into the dark's eternal hunger. Then the walls began to pulse, the murals dancing with life. Those haunting figures twisted and shifted, faces blurring into one another, as though the creatures within were trying to escape. Moments of despair twisted into moments of hope. Each shift in the air brought a flicker of light, shimmering against the oppressive darkness. In that chaotic surge, an unsettling clarity emerged. Sarah grabbed Lily's shoulders, forcing her gaze up to meet her own. "Lily, listen to me. Fear is what this thing feeds on. We can't let it consume us," she said, lifting her chin with determination. "But how?" Lily whimpered, eyes wide. "By not showing it our fear. By pushing through this, together." The scourge let out a roar, shaking the ground underfoot, but Sarah held her ground. She could feel the energy swirling around her, the charge of primal emotion mixing with the raw power from the mural. The whispers intensified, and she felt their malevolence trying to worm into her mind. "Show it strength," she urged herself, reflexively lifting her chin as if to meet the creature's rage head-on. "Bind it with your will." Delaney's voice danced through the chaos, his sinister glee like a poison seeping through the air. "You have the power, but do you have the heart?" Snarling, the scourge lunged again, claws slicing through the air. Time slowed, its monstrous form greedily extended toward them. Sarah brought Lily closer, their hearts beating in a frantic rhythm. "Now we find our strength," Sarah yelled, using all her will to push against the slippery belief that paralyzed her. Lily gasped, and for an instant, Sarah saw her daughter not as a frightened child, but as a glowing beacon of light, flickering defiantly at the edge of the darkness. In a flash of instinct, Sarah raised her free hand, resonating with the vibrant energy coiling through her. "We will not be your meal," she shouted, infusing her voice with every dismissal of doubt she ever held. The scourge halted. Its expression shifted, confusion blooming where hunger had been. Shadows recoiled, hesitating at the sudden surge of light, as if repelled by the very brightness created by their defiant hope. "Can we do this?" Lily echoed, her voice shaky but growing strong, mirroring her mother's resolve. "Yes. Together." Suddenly, the room tilted. The ground quaked again, not from fear, nor from panic but from the power of belief, a counterbalance to the darkness creeping in. Sarah felt a wave wash over them, a pulse echoing within the walls, compelling the shadows to retreat. But just as they embraced fleeting hope, a chilling laughter unfurled from Delaney, resonating through the air. "Strength? Hope?" he taunted, his voice dripping with malice. "You think that binds the darkness? You merely mask the fear, and the scourge will find it." With his words, the shadows recoiled and swelled, reaching for Sarah and Lily. The scourge's need roared back to life, filling the space with a storm of hunger and torment. Then came a sickening realization: they were fighting not only for survival but to understand the true power within themselves. But as fear clawed back at her heart, real terror brewed at the edges of her mind. Just how deep was this darkness? Could they survive the perilous game of light and shadow, or would they inadvertently open the floodgates to a greater horror? Time slipped, and with it, the answers. Would the keys to their salvation emerge from their deepest fears, even if those fears weren't just their own? As the shadows lunged forward again, Sarah knew one thing: there was no turning back. The shriek of the scourge cut through the air like a knife, a piercing sound that echoed off the walls and sank deep into Sarah's chest. She felt it, in every atom of her being. The darkness surged forward, claws outstretched, desperate to cling on to their hope. Everything about the moment screamed that they were losing, yet the light within Sarah's heart still flickered. "Trust it, Lily. she said, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around them. Lily's grip tightened, her young face twisted in fear, but there was a glint of defiance behind her eyes. Perhaps they were fighting more than just the shadows, they were battling the very essence of all their whispered fears. The atmosphere crackled with an electric tension as the creature roared again, its nightmarish form stretching impossibly. Sarah wasted no time. We have to push back. Focus on the light, Lily. Their surroundings seemed to warp and twist, the murals now morphing into grotesque interpretations of their deepest insecurities, memories long buried surfacing like ghosts clawing their way to the surface. Sarah was jolted back to a time when she watched her husband vanish into darkness, the echoes of grief deepening the shadows enveloping her now. Screaming faces distorted into grinning specters, mime-like voices taunting her from the walls. "Let it go, Mom!" Lily cried out, her voice strained but strong, pulling Sarah out of the mental spiral. Suddenly, the shadows around them froze, as if recognizing a moment of weakness. "Yes! In and out!" Sarah shouted defiantly, breathing deep, igniting her inner warmth. "Breathe it all away, Lily. We fight together." In that very act of submission, they reclaimed their power. The oppressive weight of despair started to lift. The tiny fingers interwoven with her own tightened, bringing warmth that spread through her body like wildfire, igniting the hallway and sending the shadows scattering. And then came the chilling voice of Delaney, dripping with laughter. "You're only delaying the inevitable. The scourge thrives on uncertainty," he taunted, the ambient shadows swirling at his command. "By not showing it our fear, we will break its hold." Sarah shouted back, as if hoping to erase his existence with sheer strength of will. "It's not what he thinks." With every ounce of will, she pushed that fear out into the open. The energy in the room transformed, now a battle of wills as slender strands of light broke through the murky blackness. The scourge reared back, its glowing eyes flickering uncertainty. Lily's small voice rose above the cacophony, "I won't let it control us." And just like that, a beam of light erupted from their clasped hands, a cord connecting their strength, radiating hope that illuminated the room. The shadows recoiled, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah thought she could see a path through the malevolent darkness. But Delaney's laughter turned frenzied, a maniacal symphony that echoed through the air. "You think you can light your way out? What if the real terror is what you cannot see?" he shrieked. From the depths of the darkness emerged something new, a vortex of shadow and light, spinning fiercely, revealing a path fraught with twisting horrors. Faces of forgotten souls drifting between life and death flickered before her eyes, unyielding, pleading, begging her to join them. Panic clawed at Sarah's heart. They were not just fighting for themselves, they stood guard over countless lost souls. "Mom! The shadows!" Lily exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. "They're coming back, stronger." Sarah felt the rush of blood pump harder in her veins. "Hold tight, Lily. We have one more chance." With each breath, the landscape morphed, revealing more creatures cloaked in darkness, eyes shining like stars, each more terrifying than the last. Every heartbeat echoed a question: what else lay in wait, hidden behind the shadows? As the figures danced more wildly, closing in on them, she realized their darkest fears were awakening, shadows shifting, ready to strike, begging them to succumb to despair. Would they fight to stay anchored in light or let the dark consume them wholly? Her eyes darted to the swirling abyss, realizing the terrifying truth: the shadows were no longer just foes, they were manifestations of her deepest, unresolved fears. Could she defeat this on her terms before it devoured everything? The vortex closed in, a skin-crawling reminder that the true battle was only just beginning. Would facing her fears mean inviting more chaos into the light? They stood at the precipice, torn between hope and horror, their breaths quickening as the shadows loomed ever closer. The room felt like it was vibrating with tension, shadows clawing at the edges of Sarah's sanity. She could feel the weight of despair pressing down, wrapping around her chest like a vice. Just a heartbeat apart, she and Lily were tethered by their shared fear. Focus on the light. We control this. Sarah shouted, forcing strength into her voice. The flickering light emitted warmth, pushing back against the shadows swirling relentlessly around them. The scourge hesitated, its monstrous form caught in a web of indecision as if the light had awakened something dormant within it. Mommy, Lily whimpered, eyes darting to the creature inching closer. What if it eats us? Then we make it understand it can't. Sarah replied, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. The memory of the pet shop, the whispers, and Mr. Delaney's cruel smile surged to the forefront of her mind. I won't let it take you, she vowed, her grip tightening around Lily's small hand. We end this, together. With a deep, cleansing breath, Sarah summoned all her strength, visualizing the warmth of hope radiating from the bond with her daughter. She could feel the shadows pressing in closer, hungry for despair, but they were stronger than the dread that engulfed them. Look at me, Lily. We shine bright. She focused, reaching deep for all the love she could muster, all her fears transformed into raging power. Together. Lily echoed, their words harmonizing, forming a beacon in the suffocating darkness. As their hearts centered on a single thought, unity, the light flared magnificently. It erupted from their joined hands, engulfing the room in a blinding luminescence. The scourge reared back, snarling, muzzled filled with sharp teeth that glinted in the new light, unwelcome exposure to what had been concealed in shadows. Delaney's laughter fizzled, the twisted malice disappearing into the ether. No. You're just prolonging the inevitable. His shout rang hollow, losing power as they connected even deeper. The shadows that had once wriggled with menace melted under the intense glow of their indomitable spirit. With faces of horror twisting into fleeting smiles, the figures of the murals shimmered before them, turning from nightmarish beasts into guardians of light. A ripple of warmth spread as the scourge fought against the new bond that ignited the very fabric of the room. The pulsation of fear, once thick like tar, waned and weakened around them. Now, remember, fear isn't just a weapon, it can be turned into a tool. Sarah shouted, her voice mingling with Lily's as they harnessed their urgency. It was a realization that reverberated through her. Their fears did not dictate their choices, their love and resolve did. In the ultimate clash, the shadows made their last stand, swirling aggressively before Lily's innocent inquiry cut through the noise, can't we join the light instead? What? Sarah gasped, initially taken aback, but then it struck her a revelation bright as day. They are lost too, Lily. They long for connection. Mommy! Lily exclaimed, voice strong with newfound encouragement. Let us turn them into friends. Yes. Let us give them a choice. In that moment, they redirected the overwhelming energy of fear into compassion. Emotion swelled within Sarah, buoyed by her daughter's innocent resolve. Come with us. Glowing threads spiraled out from their combined light, intertwining with the shadows that thrived on fear. The scourge roared again, a plea echoing through thick despair. But instead of retreating, Sarah and Lily rallied, focusing on the pain behind the darkness, a hunger yearning for understanding. Every creature, every shadow, paused as if in contemplation. There, within the web of flickering light stretching before them, they saw others illuminated by buried hopes. With Sarah and Lily standing grounded in light, creatures once ominous surrendered, shedding despair and stepping toward the beacon that declared love beyond fear. In a glorious moment of redemption, the scourge abated, quaking back, its hollow eyes gleaming with something more: desire, vulnerability. The swirling shadows relented at the edge of their connection, retreating as longing transformed the landscape. One by one, those lost souls emerged from darkness, letting light wash over them, renewing their existence. A smile broke across Delaney's face, not of malice, but intrigue. Perhaps you're stronger than I suspected. With a final flicker, the door behind them creaked open. Light spilled over them like a refreshing tide, beckoning Sarah and Lily toward the exit. They had won, they had conquered fear with something more potent: connection and love. They stepped through the doorway hand in hand, pulling the warmth of light behind them. The haunting laughter of Delaney faded to whispers as they entered a world newly brightened as fears dissolved like mist. Breathing deeply, freedom enveloped them. The bond between mother and daughter pulsed with life, warm and enduring. They had faced the depth of their fears and emerged triumphant, tethered together in the promise of light. As they took their first steps into the dawn, Lily looked up, her innocent eyes gleaming with delight. "Mommy, what's our next adventure?" Sarah chuckled, gazing back at the fading shadows. "Together, sweetheart. Always together." But as they walked away, a single shadow flickered at the edge of the doorway, the eternal whispers echoing softly behind them. They had won this battle, but the war for understanding was just beginning. Now, as the journey takes a new turn, hold tight. You need to subscribe to this channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories awaiting you. Smash that like button now. Every click keeps the light alive and feeds the algorithm for more heart-pounding tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling ending. What did you think? What does this mean for Sarah and Lily? Don't hold back. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this adventure. Real fans understand supporting the channel makes all the difference.